and we have our guest, Dr. Coomi Vevaina, a thinker, an educationist, multiple times TEDx speaker, who was our Lumiere Learning Monday guest in January of this year. Little did we know that we were going to be pulling her in again to do another event for us today. And unlike events which used to happen in the pre-COVID era, in our office in Navi Mumbai, where people had to travel long distances to come physically, our guests. Today, not only are we able to have our guests speak from the comfort of their own locations, but we are able to share our esteemed guests and their words of wisdom and their ideas with a lot more people, even beyond the Lumiere world. So, how special is that? Kumi, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for your support, Deepa. You and Milind.
So, Kumi, you have always been child forward, education forward, parent forward, environment forward. How is it, how does it feel today, today's World Environment Day? So, we would like to hear your ideas on the ELM project, the Earth Love Mission idea, which we think is a conceptualization that you've created on how children and youth can participate proactively in being always aware and working on activities that are pro environment, pro sustainability. So, can you tell us a little bit about how this idea first came into your mind? What's your connect with nature, Kumi?
Thank you, Deepa. I'll try and be brief. I have always loved children and always loved nature. Always liked other human beings as well, though some may be silly, some may be not too nice, but always believed in the essential goodness of everyone. Also believed that despite everything, we are special in our own unique way. I wrote a book for children in 2013 called Birds, and that book, the idea story. The supermarket. He
Why
was
the voice is the sound hasn't been very clear. Suddenly you were going in and out. So I don't know whether there was a network issue, Kumi. I just lost you a little bit, a little moment ago. Will you just repeat yourself? Let's see whether we can hear you better.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Bernice, okay. Bernice was a happy, healthy banana. But one day, while sitting on the supermarket shelf, she felt that the other fruits looked better than she did. She felt she looked like a torn, worn baby sock and started feeling very depressed. I don't look glossy and beautiful like Angelina Apple, or smooth and regal like Melissa Mango, or wacky and wonderful like Olivia Orange, and so on and so forth. And she got more and more and more depressed. The supermarket owner came and put a board next to her saying, "Eat bananas, stay healthy." And her face lit up. And she said, "Thank you, God, for making me a banana." From my experience as a teacher and as a storyteller, as someone who relates very well with children, I feel that children are pressured into being what they are not. Every single child, every single human being is born into the world with at least one unique gift. We may not be good at everything, but we are surely good at something. And this idea was playing around in my mind, and I came up with the Global Tipping Point Summit and eventually ELM, which is an acronym for Earth Love Mission. I feel that each of us, and particularly children. I have great faith in young children and in the youth. If they could really bring themselves to giving their one unique gift to the world, then we would be living in a happier and better place. The world would be
Mhm.
far better. So ELM is Earth Love Mission. The main idea is to create a global youth movement,
Okay.
a global youth movement where young people are proactive and they will work towards the 17 sustainable goals evinced by the United Nations. A lot of us just feel those goals are lovely, but they remain on paper. Let's do something about it. So, if we could really encourage young people to be proactive and work towards those sustainable goals, that would be magic. Secondly, the idea is to engage youth in self rewarding tasks. We think of rewards mainly in monetary terms. And of course, I'm not denying that we need a little bit of money, but self rewarding work keeps you in the flow, makes you feel joyful. And I think our youth really needs that because the work is aligned with our intelligence configurations and with our abilities. So that is the mission of Earth Love, that Earth Love mission. Now, if I could carry on with the outcomes, what are the possible outcomes of this kind of program, or what are we hoping for? Firstly, I think we are hoping for a genuine change in consciousness. I know this word consciousness is very, very nebulous, but I think it's high time we engaged with it and realized that we need to move from a self versus other consciousness. Deepa, you and every single person who is online today has something very, very special. But do we have to be locked in competition? Can we move? A little bit of competition is all right, as much as salt in food, but we put a dollop of it. So, can we shift consciousness through this work from self versus other to self and other, where we work collaboratively, we
Lovely.
work cooperatively to a point when there is no other and all is self? Yes, it's possible. The philosopher Ken Wilber talks about it as moving from egocentric to cosmocentric identity. And I think it's high time we do it. Way back, Jiddu Krishnamurti in 1963 said, the most important revolution that we need is a change in consciousness. And more recently, even Yuval Noah Harari says
Yeah.
that for every dollar that we spend on developing technology, AI, biotech, the next dollar should be spent on developing consciousness. So if we can transition our young people from the self versus other, which the consumer society has created largely, to an all is self, the world will be a far better place for us and for the generations to come. That's the first outcome. The second outcome is, of course, we all talk about change. But though the phrase has become almost a cliche, we need to be the change. Let's work towards change. Let's not talk about it endlessly. In my university, I used to tell my students as a head of the Department of English that if ever you come up with a problem, come up with at least two solutions,
So true.
and we'll take it from there. Of course, I will address the problem, but come up with two solutions. So be the change. And the third, very importantly, we talk about 21st century learning skills. When we do programs of this type, all the learning skills get sharpened. Critical thinking and problem solving, creative thinking and problem solving, content mastery, change orientation and resilience. This is going to be vital. With biotechnology and AI coming together, we might have to change our jobs every few years. And we need resilience for that. We need to have a mindset which allows change to happen, or perhaps even welcomes change. We also need to work collaboratively and, last but not the least, develop communication excellence. All these can happen while young people are working on various projects. So that is the main idea. These are the outcomes that I hope for. And everyone has to work. It just can't be one person's vision. I mean, I need the whole world with me to make it happen.
Kumi, you have a doctorate in English literature, and you also have another one in psychology,
In
right?
education,
In education, I beg your pardon.
right?
And, you have looked at nature. I mean, I believe that nature is a great teacher. So, nature as an educator, because all of the points that you talked about, nature has inspired countless of writers, poets, for me, the whole aspect or the whole dimension of change and resilience, there are so many values that one learns. There is the whole enduring rootedness, and at the same time there is transformation. Yes.
Absolutely. In literature, we have nature poetry and we have eco poetry more recently.
Eco
Nature
poetry.
poetry, eco poetry.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The nature poetry of especially the romantics, Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, Byron, is absolutely exquisite, apart from Tennyson and several others. But that is nature poetry. Total love, admiration, a feeling of oneness with nature. As Wordsworth rightly said, one impulse from the vernal woods can teach you more than all your books can.
Beautiful.
And that is nature poetry. But more recently, there is an even more interesting version of nature poetry called eco poetry. And here people are saying, oh, look, nature is so beautiful. But do you see that tractor? Do you see the machinery that's trying to mow it down, that's trying to destroy it? So a lot of eco poetry brings awareness of how fragile nature is and how important it is for us to really connect with nature, because the elements are all there within us. We need to be, as you were hinting, solid and grounded like the earth. We need to be able to make changes like the water and flow. Like the air, we need space and give space to others. And like fire, we need to be both intuitive, life giving, and life destroying. Whatever is old has to go. So we have so much to learn from nature. And from my experience, children connect beautifully with nature if only they are given a little bit of impetus. If they see their parents really connecting with nature, doing something for the animals, being kind, compassion, conserving, they are going to imbibe the same values.
In the context of the lockdown, we can't go out and do activities like we used to. We started something called the Lunas event. So once a month, first month Sunday of the month, we would go with people in the Lumiere world, our associates, clients, our core team, alumni, and their children, primarily because you rather than take an approach of activism, we said education is a better sustainable approach.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
if
Couldn't
we can
agree more.
inform, if we can experience, if we can learn the language and learn to observe, learn to dialogue, learn to connect, we build a more compassionate world. And that's really been our philosophy.
Right, absolutely right. So this is what I'm trying to encourage through Elm. Now, here, the projects that the students take up could follow a certain system.
Uh-huh.
Step one could be identifying your unique gift. what am I really good at? What can I give to the world?
Yeah.
Step 2 could be looking at the mind map that I've created.
Can you show the mind map, or should we talk about that later?
No, we can show it now, but identifying the area in which you want to contribute.
Yeah.
So the mind map, as it's very roughly created, we could add more branches or sub branches, but these are the initial thoughts. So
Idea starter. Yes. Yeah. So you were.
the mind map is merely to tell you that these are the possibilities. What do you really connect with? If you connect with sustainable environment, then what exactly do you want to do? Which area, more specific area, do you want to work in? There we want the children to put their pictures on the sub branch and write their name and age. Okay, the mind map is up. So at the center is my gift to Mother Earth. Then we have all these branches and sub-branches: sustainable environment, socio-political equality, which is huge, because we don't only need gender equality, we need race, class, ethnicity, color, age, ability, everything. We need healthcare, sanitation, all of these. So these are the possibilities. Of course, you can choose something else. If you want to really work in one of these areas, you put your photograph on the sub branch, you write your name and you write your age. And you fill in form A, which is a personal details form. Then the next step is that you start connecting with others who are on the same branch. The third step is that you come up with some project. I'll talk about the project a moment later, but you create teams and you identify a project. And there you fill in a form, form B, where you strategize, you show us your planning and your timelines. The next step is approaching mentors. Now, I know people who are just amazing with animals, and they would like to volunteer maybe half an hour of their weekly time to advising young people. So they would be the mentors, but we don't want the mentors to occupy center stage. We want the children and the youth to do this work. And then once they complete their project, they can notify the CCM, which is my company, and we will pass this on to United Nations and show them how children are working towards achieving the 17 sustainable goals. So this is the game plan. This is the modus operandi. And you'd ask me perhaps what kind of projects can they do?
Yeah.
Host of projects. But they should ultimately lead to social action. Now, if they take up, for instance, clean air, they could do it with art. They could do art-based projects. Even within art-based projects, they could do visual and digital projects, make little videos, films, paintings, graphic novels, sculpture, anything. If they prefer the performing arts, they could express their vision through dance, drama, music, and storytelling. And if they want the more verbal arts, they could do it as story writing. Storytelling, also story writing, both in print and digital. Creative writing, creating poems, stories, scripts of plays, anything. So it could be an art-based project. It could be a science-based project. Pure science, projects based on pure science, or innovations.
Wow.
And the third could be hands-on community-based projects. So the children could choose what they really want to do. And of course, there are thousands of other possibilities which we would be entirely open to.
And you want to sort of see this as a sort of a blueprint for your idea for transformation, isn't it, Kumi?
That's exactly it. Yes, absolutely. Because we need to work towards these transformations, and it's not difficult if we work collaboratively. And then we don't need to attend special classes on emotional intelligence and social intelligence and spiritual intelligence, because they come in anyway. You are learning that while you're working on these kind of projects. In Finland, they have absolutely done away with school subjects in order to try out phenomenon based learning, which is
Uh-huh.
exactly this, where you take a problem and you work on it in a very collaborative way. And here, I do not even want age to be a bar. A kindergarten kid who is very creative may want to do story writing, telling, or may have some amazing science ideas. So I want people, young people, to work collaboratively, and they could be connecting with anyone, anywhere in our digital world.
So, in fact, one of our alumni, she's doing an amazing initiative of a book club. I told you about, uh, the group book club in Goregaon with Archana Sohni is doing. So,
Yes,
they
you
have
mentioned that.
created a YouTube channel with which is called Lockdown tales, and the children are telling stories, and they are thematic in content which has environment, and they are doing this very beautifully, Kumi. And I really think these little spontaneous initiatives already show that there is something like this is positive has already started, isn't it?
It has to. And strangely, COVID has pushed us into it. COVID has made us realize that we were living in entirely dysfunctional ways and labeling those dysfunctional ways as normal. But we don't have to continue in that way. I'm completely aligned with what Einstein said. You probably know that in 1938, Einstein wrote a letter to his daughter Lizarel. And he told his daughter that the world was not ready for it and therefore it should not be released. And what he talks about is the energy and the power of love, which is the ultimate and the most powerful energy in the universe. I
Wow.
think if we work with that energy, keeping our egoic side aside, and if we work with spirit, with love, we can definitely make this world a better place for ourselves and for the generations to come.
Absolutely. I think those are really really wise words, and I think people should listen to your two TEDx talks to really understand the power of what you say and what you talk about the world not being ready. Who knows? I mean, this is possibly a wake up
A
call.
wake up call. It is. But it depends on us. Are we going to let it degenerate into a dystopia by continuing in the old ways? Or are we going to, as we say, regard it as a wake up call and make this world a utopia? Even that is a clear possibility. And I'm all for the utopia side of it.
And for me, what you said, what is outside in the environment is really what is within our bodies. And, just that awareness, whether it's, earth, fire, water, all the elements, the
And
fire.
that comes into our daily interactions also. For instance, now if somebody in the family flares up, there's too much of fire. So if I combat that fire to fire, it's only going to create an explosion. So I need to draw in another element from the environment and work with water, or maybe give more space.
Yes.
So, I mean, all our interactions, we are a part of nature. We've just forgotten that. Even this concept of stewardship is not a concept I'm completely for. I see oneness with nature.
Mm.
Ultimately, as a scientist David Bohm very correctly put it, there is a level at which we remain separate, and that is the explicit order, because the atoms have come together differently to create a Kumi and to create a Deepa. But at the deeper, implicate quantum level, you and I are essentially one. We are part of the same energy. So if I get mad at you, I'm getting mad at myself. How foolish is that?
So true. So true. Kumi, I believe there are about 100 people watching us live, and I'm sure that in the recording, more people will listen to this. I also want you to spend with the last 5 minutes. I just want you to talk about what you've envisaged later with the Global Tipping Point Summit, because all of this actually is going to translate into what schools can do and what families, parents can do. So if you can just take a little time to
Sure,
talk about
sure.
this.
As such, this entire project very beautifully dovetails with something I'd envisaged earlier, the Global Tipping Point Summit, and which you're completely aware of. The Global Tipping Point Summit endeavors to be different from the regular conferences. What happens, you and I know that we go to conferences, we nod our heads, we agree with all the speaker has said, but we come back and do nothing, or we do very little, but we tend to slip into our padded slots. The idea of the Global Tipping Point is to generate action in two major verticals: education and parenting. For centuries, we've been talking about the need for a change in education. Whether it was Shakespeare or Wordsworth or anyone else, they were totally dissatisfied with the education of their day. But today, it's become extremely critical for us because our children are distinctly unhappy. Bulk of our children, I'm not saying all, maybe about 20% can fit into this kind of system. But the system is extremely cramping. And it is, as Sir Ken Robinson rightly says, a system meant for an entirely different century, for the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution, where everyone is taken according to their date of production, which is their birth, and said, good, you passed standard one, and now standard two. You've learned. No, this is not the way we learn today. Today, we learn whatever we wish to learn. The internet has created and brought this magic into our lives. So it's absolutely unrealistic to expect that children will learn that much and then will have to regurgitate that on paper. So at the Tipping Point Summit, we are going to have absolutely innovative thinkers who have seriously rethought education and rethought parenting. So once the speaker speaks for 45 minutes, then we have a panel of change makers, change facilitators, two under 25 to bring in the youth perspective, and two above 25, the voice of experience. They will inform the audience on this digital summit, which is going to happen through November to January, how easy it is to implement the change if only we have the will to do so. And then we want to constitute action groups, which will actually go out into the world and implement those ideas, come back to us. If certain things do not work, we know that it hasn't worked for a particular reason. We are happy to tweak it, happy to rethink it. But we do need to make this kind of start. And I'm not saying this is the first time it's ever happening. A lot of people are doing such amazing works, but we're doing it in pockets. Can we really now get together? Can all the thinkers who believe that education needs to be changed put their egos aside and come and really work for the good of the children of our world? And as I said, I just hate it when children say, I'm going for tuitions, I have to go for an exam and I'm nervous, or they take to substance abuse or even kill themselves. I mean, this is not what education should lead up to, ever. And of course, parenting has also become extremely challenging. So, what is parenting? We've all played it by ear. We've never done a diploma or a degree in parenting. Nobody would take us in to teach at the university if we didn't have degrees. But strangely, for parenting, we don't need anything. That's the assumption.
Single largest domain of the amateur, someone called it.
Well put, well put. So, even there, we need to play it by ear, but we need to parent with tremendous awareness, tremendous mindfulness of what is going on inside us while we are talking to our children, while we are reprimanding our children, while we are limiting our children. What is going on within us to make us act in this way? So, a lot of thinking, a lot of introspection is what we are going to invite at these summits. The parenting summit happens from 8th of January to 31st, only on weekends, and the education summit from the 20th of November, when we have the inauguration, to the 13th of December.
Kumi, it's exactly 12 o'clock. When the sound wasn't very clear, we missed the name of the book, your book that you made reference to when you talked about the banana.
Burnous Banana. It's a
Yeah.
children's book called Burnous Banana. And I have one more specifically on the environment, which is called Angry Angara, and a few other children's stories that I've written.
Kumi, your knowledge, your versatility, your just the lucid way in which you talk, we could keep listening to you, but no, we are not going to, keep tying down people from what else they have, what are all the other things they have to do in their day to day. But thank you so much for coming on this talk.
Absolute pleasure.
Today, the World Environment Day celebrates diversity. Last year, China was the host, air pollution was the theme, and World Environment Day was founded in 1974. It's a day for us to reconnect, to remind ourselves that we are connected with nature. And this is really a time to, it's like a birthday reminding a celebration, but every day we would like us to be in connect with nature.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much, Deepa. I enjoyed interacting with you, and I hope the listeners have too.
Thank
Thank
you. Bye bye. Thanks.